Bitcoin has a massive year ahead of it. I know that many of you are already aware of this, but in this video, I want to share the 3 primary factors and or catalysts that are leading me to be hyper bullish on Bitcoin in 2024. Hyper bullish, not just bullish. My name is Royce Jacob, and welcome back to Waves Capital. 1 is the stock to flow model. Keep in mind, you guys, we will read more into these after we go over them quickly individually. 2 is the Bitcoin halving. This is coming up in April. And of course, we have the Bitcoin ETF that as of today just took the first real step towards being approved. It's supposed to be approved this Thursday. Keep in mind, it is January 8th on the date of recording, but I'll do my best to make this video as relevant as possible for those of you who may be watching a later date. And in the wake of this ETF potential approval, it's pretty much approved, Bitcoin is ripping. We will be taking a look at the charts on TradingView after we go over these 3 primary fundamental catalysts and talking price action in the short, medium, and long term. Okay, so that's the video, you guys. Let's actually kick it off with the Bitcoin halving. But before we get to reading about what I believe is probably the single most important factor for Bitcoin really appreciating in price in 2024, let me know in the comments. Are you bullish on Bitcoin this year? What is your year-end price target? You'll see in this video that I think it's very possible that Bitcoin can, finally break triple digits or 6 figures. So let me know what your price target is. Give the video a like if you go on to gain value from it today. Subscribe to the channel if you want to ride some waves through 2024 with Waves Capital. And of course, if you want my daily trade alerts, if you want my daily newsletters where I discuss the macro, I discuss my trades, and if you want my daily take on names like Bitcoin, Riot Platforms, Render token, then check out my complete portfolio and daily newsletter. It's the first link in the description of this video. $15 a month, $40 for every 3 months, completely up to you. Try it free for 7 days if you want. If you don't like it, you can peace out. But I trust you'll be sticking around. And you guys, I think there are some very exciting times ahead of us. So again, that's the first link in the description. Appreciate it if you check it out. If not, no worries at all. Let's get into this video. Okay, so Coinbase. I really like this article. It's short and sweet. And of course, our OG crypto exchange and really the only legal crypto exchange who's kind of monopolized the US at this point. Coinbase, they wrote a great little piece on the halving, and I'll share it with you today. What is a Bitcoin halving? The definition: every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin awarded to miners is reduced by half until all 21 million Bitcoin have been virtually mined, probably around the year 2140. The halving mechanism helps make Bitcoin a scarce, inflation-resistant resource. Okay? Not much more to say there. Even though Bitcoin is digital money, we're not going to read over too much here, just a few short paragraphs, and then we'll move on to the stock to flow model, which really plays into the halving, okay? Or the concept plays into the halving. Okay, even though Bitcoin is digital money, it can't be created endlessly. Verifiable scarcity is core to its value proposition. Foundational to the Bitcoin protocol are 2 concepts relating to scarcity. First, there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. As of late 2020, there were less than 2.5 million Bitcoin remaining to be virtually mined. Second, the amount of new Bitcoin added to the network will be reduced by half every 4 years. This second concept is referred to as the halving. At the beginning of 2020, 12.5 new Bitcoin were added to the network every 10 minutes via virtual mining. In May, that amount was halved to 6.25. In 2024, it will drop to around 3.125. And the process will continue until all 21 million coins have been mined, which estimates say, once again, that it should be around 2140. Why is the Bitcoin halving important? By issuing fewer Bitcoin over time, the halving makes it more likely that Bitcoin's value will rise, assuming consistent levels of demand. This is in sharp contrast to fiat currencies, which typically decline in value over time via inflation, which is why you could get a Coke for a dime in the 1960s. The halving is one of the ways Bitcoin's protocol maintains scarcity, and scarcity is one of the reasons why Bitcoin is sought after by millions of people. Okay, once again, you guys, Bitcoin, Gold 2.0, digital gold. I've explained it that way many, many times. I have multiple videos talking about just this exact concept. The reason Bitcoin was so appealing to me many, many years ago is because it is finite, okay? It is provably scarce, okay? Gold is scarce. You can say gold is scarce. It's not provably scarce, though. Say an asteroid hits Earth with, that's made of gold. That's theoretically possible. That would significantly reduce the demand, or at least cost for gold, because the demand would be higher. Bitcoin is moving in the opposite direction with the halvings. Scarcity, further scarcity is created by, just pushing less Bitcoin into circulation. Okay. So this is one, the halving is coming up. Factually, it's a big deal. Objectively, once again, due to the reasons we just covered, this is objectively a big deal as far as scarcity goes. Again, demand has to keep up. That's a massive factor. I'm not personally too worried about that, especially seeing how things are going as we kick off the new year. Demand isn't worrying me too much. The Bitcoin halving is objectively good for the bulls as far as the supply is concerned. Again, supply and demand economics 101. The less supply you have with existing demand, the higher the prices you want to be. Okay, so this is objectively bullish. The ETF is a little more speculative. It's a little more, there's more psychology involved in the ETF approval for sure. And we're really seeing that right now, to be honest. And I want to say before moving on to the stock to flow model that, game theory is involved in every aspect of the financial markets, in every aspect of trading, especially cryptocurrency, right? People are going to know that the halving is coming up. And this halving is different than the one in 2020 because so many more people have become educated on Bitcoin over the past 4 years, right? They're reading more on Bitcoin, they're watching videos like this, and it's likely that they're going to have the knowledge that the halving is coming prior to it coming. So, in the past, I don't have a chart to bring this up because, you can kind of look at this a little bit because the halvings are, you could find the halvings in here, but I've seen plenty of charts on it. Typically, Bitcoin rallies in the 6 months following the halving, but this year I believe it will be different for the reason I just mentioned, and it will be priced in due to the fact that more people have become educated on Bitcoin as an asset. They're aware of what the halving is, when it's going to happen, and I believe that this halving is more likely. Of course, I can't guarantee anything. You guys, you know the drill. But in my mind, it's more likely that this halving will be priced in prior to the actual event itself in April of 2024, at least as opposed to previous halvings when there was kind of a delayed effect following the halving. Okay, so I do think that there will be a rally into the halving. I also think that just it's seasonally, it makes sense as well from a price action perspective, which once again, we will get into. Technicals looking amazing. So that's just helping the bull case. And there are things like the stock to flow model that encourage this belief as well. Once again, this plays into the scarcity, supply and demand aspect of Bitcoin. So this is the stock to flow model. It's been probably well over a year since I've covered this on the channel. I used to cover this a lot in my earlier videos. You can go dig through some of those if you want. But what is the stock to flow? Stock to flow is a forecasting tool for Bitcoin price. It creates a line on the chart above that shows an estimated price level based on the number of Bitcoins available in the market relative to the amount being produced or mined each year. Sorry, this is a little small, you guys, but I'll try to enunciate this my best. The score on the stock to flow line is forecasted price for Bitcoin at that particular time. By hovering your cursor over the line on the charts, which we'll do right now, you can see here, just hovering the cursor, you can see the date and the price versus the model price. Okay, so we'll talk about this a little more after we finish reading. To date, it has broadly forecasted price correctly as BTC price has followed the stock to flow line. As the amount of Bitcoins to be mined reduces over time, again, due to the halving, the stock to flow number S2F ratio increases as supply coming into the market is reducing. That is why this model is forecasting that the price of Bitcoin will increase in the future. Okay, so the stock to flow model. This was created by a man named Plan B. Let me know if you guys have heard of Plan B. I haven't seen his name across the crypto realm a whole lot lately. I have to imagine he's still active, but he was really one of the OG probably talking heads, anonymous talking head in the crypto space. Very interesting guy, very intellectual guy. Okay, he created this model. This is the stock to flow ratio. Once again, it takes pretty much general supply and demand economics into account when trying to dictate the price for Bitcoin. And although you can see here, it's really varied a lot. the general trend is holding fairly well. Okay, and you can see here that this line, what the heck did I just do there? I'm just going to refresh this page because I'm not going to try to figure out how to redo that. My bad. But as you can see here, these are the halving lines. The last halving was in early May of 2020. Bitcoin was at a price of $10,000. The model price was $5,000. Over the next year, let's go to January of 2021. Bitcoin went to a price of $30,000. Okay, so since the halving, in the 6 months that followed, Bitcoin nearly 3x'd. Keep in mind, that was a very weird time. The Fed started printing money. The money printer went burr, and pretty much every other asset on the planet, every risk asset, every growth asset, as individuals were at home with a whole bunch of stimmy checks to deploy, we got a rally in growth assets. Okay, so this was a little bit of a different time, and again, also that kind of plays into my theory that this halving will be more priced in as opposed to definitely the last halving at least, okay? So anyway, after the halving occurred, you can see Bitcoin went up. We reached that when we reached that all-time high. The all-time high of $65,000, kind of double topped over here once in April of 2021, and then of course in November of 2021. Since then, we've been cruising. We saw a massive correction over the past year. Now we're cruising sideways. This is when we are approaching the next halving date. And you can see here the next halving is slated, if I can move my, oh my gosh, it's actually for April of 2024. This is just kind of, I guess, what the model has in play. But April of 2024 is when the halving is scheduled to occur. And that's right when we're about to kind of find, like we're about to finally break the threshold of what the stock to flow price currently is. Right now, the model price is sitting at just under $50,000. Bitcoin, this hasn't updated properly yet because we are now sitting at about $47,000. So the stock to flow ratio does project Bitcoin. Let's just move forward here. Let's go to the end of 2024. On December 25th, on Christmas Day of 2024, the model is projecting Bitcoin to be at about $170,000. Okay? Is this guaranteed to happen? Absolutely not. But if we get rate cuts, as the Fed has promised, if we do successfully get rate cuts, if the hype really enters the market, which it kind of already is, we're looking good so far. If hype enters the market, if the Fed cuts rates, as they're expected to at least 3 times in the year ahead, then I wouldn't be surprised to see Bitcoin, I can confidently say, break into 6-figure territory, okay? I would be surprised to see Bitcoin break above $100,000. Once that happens, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But for now, I'm comfortable saying that if all goes accordingly as far as rate cuts and Fed intervention is concerned in the financial markets, I do think $100,000 plus Bitcoin is entirely possible by the end of the year. Okay, stock to flow ratio. Let's talk about the ETF, because just as of this morning, the ETF really it's pretty much been locked. I mean, in my mind, the probability of a pass of this is extremely high. But to be honest, I will just say that the actual application of the ETF, or actual like what the ETF provides, is a big deal. It's a massive deal. I don't think it's like an absolute game changer. It's a very, very significant step in terms of the validity of Bitcoin, and it is good as far as access is concerned, but you guys, there's already like GBTC. There are already ways for pensions and massive funds to get involved. Even if you wanted GBTC in your 401k, you could get it if you wanted to. So it's not like this is an extremely revolutionary concept, but yes, it does allow for a lot more liquidity in the system, a lot more access to individuals who, even if anything, may have been skeptical about some of the other methods of investing in Bitcoin, even in those kind of other alternate traditional fashions. Okay, so my take on the ETF, net positive. Is this a lot of psychology? Is this a lot of game theory related trading? Absolutely, I think so. But it's Bitcoin. That's the nature of cryptocurrency and the markets overall. Okay, so let's just read this quickly. Bitcoin rose to a 21-month high today. Celebrate. To start the week, as investors awaited the potential approval of a U.S. Bitcoin X-rated fund. Monday, we rose above $47,000. We reached a high of 47.1. Good to see. Didn't mean to go there. Grayscale and other potential Bitcoin ETF issuers submitted final updates to the US SEC, including key fee disclosures that bolstered investors' confidence that an approval is more likely than not. The last time we traded 47K was April of 2022. So big things are going down. I hate when that happens. There we go. So approval is inevitable. Former SEC Chair Jay Clayton told CNBC's Squawk Box on Monday when asked what could happen this week. There's nothing left to decide. This is a big step, not just for Bitcoin, but for finance generally. Okay? That's a pretty big cosign, considering Jay Clayton was once again the former chair of the SEC. The SEC is really the final hurdle that the ETF has to pass in order to be approved. And trading once again will go live on Thursday. If you guys are watching this at a later date, please let me know if all has gone accordingly. Bitcoin has rallied as a result of this. We're currently up just about 7%. We're fluctuating between 7%. The crypto market's following suit. Love to see, Riot and Mara doing super well. Love to see Riot finally getting a greener day than Mara. Again, if you want to know how I'm trading Riot, things are looking good in the portfolio. It's the first link in the description once again. Last time I'll plug that. But super exciting times, you guys. Render's looking amazing as well. Really excited for what's to come. And not only the fundamentals that we covered are bullish, but price is really bullish as well. So let's start shorter term and then just kind of slowly expand into the medium term. And then I'll go to the long term as we zoom out of the chart. And I'll give you guys I don't want to say reasonable price analysis as to where I think we'll be at the end of 2024, but just kind of a hunch based once again, taking the stock to flow into account as well. Okay, so short term, Bitcoin looking very good. Daily Stokes, 1D stochastic RSI curling up, 1D RSI above its EMA, bouncing upwards, not too overbought, right? Just about in the middle of this RSI range. And we have also broken above the line of resistance on this channel, this sideways trading range that Bitcoin has been in since early December. I will just say this right now for any of you who may be new, said this plenty of times, but if you don't believe in the validity or the efficacy of good old stick figure trend lines, then you simply haven't been watching charts for long enough. They definitely they prove effective more often than not always, but more often than not, and that's what you want to look for as a trader. Okay, it's all about playing the odds. So anyway, we have broken this line of resistance right here, this top yellow line on this shorter term sideways trading range. From here, what do I think is likely? From here, I do think a test of the top line of resistance on this longer term channel, medium term channel that's been in place since late October will be the next stop, at least as far as the short term is concerned, okay? That would result in another about 10% move up. About 10% move up to the $51,000 region over the next week or so, okay? So I do think that's possible and probably see a little correction there. You guys, nothing just goes straight up forever. Keep that in mind. But that is looking probable in the short term. From there, we're really not too far off from testing the top line of resistance. Let's zoom out here. Sorry, this is a little laggy, you guys. We're pretty close to testing the top line of resistance on this long-term channel that's been in play all the way since the January of 2023. So almost a full year now this channel has been in play. That does coincide with this short-term resistance. And keep in mind, these are conservative lines of resistance. You can see here, many traders would touch the top. I'm just going to get this here so I don't have to go back. But many traders may be going like that, okay? Which is possible. It's possible that this trend line does come into play, but I feel more comfortable using multiple touch points to create my trend lines, okay? You got to be one step ahead of the competition. So this does coincide, or intersect, I should say, with this line of conservative long-term resistance. The top line is absolute resistance. Again, using top line candle wicks, the bottom line of conservative resistance right here, this bottom blue cyan line, is conservative resistance because, once again, I feel comfortable trading off of that as opposed to the top line. Anyway, that does coincide or intersect on, what is that? January 18th. At about $53,000. So is a $53,000 Bitcoin on January 18th possible? I don't just think it's possible. I actually think it's likely. So again, if you guys are watching at a later date, if you guys are watching beyond January 18th, let me know how this is panned out in the comments below. But for those of you who are watching right now, I think that is pretty darn likely. Now, if Bitcoin can break the line of resistance on this ascending channel. From a technical perspective, that's when things get really, really exciting. So if Bitcoin, this just goes out to February is where I made these trend lines. But if Bitcoin by February, I don't want to say this is likely, but it's entirely possible. If Bitcoin can break above, I'll just say $58,000 by February to play it safe. If Bitcoin can break above $58,000 by February, then I think things could start getting pretty crazy. And again, you guys, just looking at the very, very general trend of Bitcoin, this massive kind of ascending channel that was in play for a very, very long time. Keep in mind, you guys, right now, there is a very significant line. I covered this in a video recently of broken support right here. This line of broken support that I just drew in that will likely come into play as new resistance, which Bitcoin has almost perfectly tested this morning. So that will pose some issues. But if Bitcoin can break above this line of support and reclaim this channel, that would even further my belief that in the shorter term, we can see, $50,000 plus within the month ahead. Also taking the January effect into account when risk assets and growth assets appreciate more, just given the seasonal nature of them. If we can break back into the ascending channel, and then if we can break out from the medium term, long term, I'll call this the long-term ascending channel. This is the macro ascending channel, these white ones. If we can break the long-term ascending channel, if we can break resistance there, then I do think that we will begin making our way up to the top line of resistance on the macro ascending channel. That would lead us on December 25th, or I guess this is the new year. We'll just call it the new year. On January 1st of 2025, that would result in a $90,000 Bitcoin. Hey, say we reach it sooner. Say we see it by, say, April, like we really rip into the spring months. That would result in, about an $86,000 Bitcoin by mid-May. So is this optimistic? Absolutely. Are there reasons to be optimistic? Absolutely. We just covered them. So I'm excited, you guys. I'm really excited for what the future has in store, not just for Bitcoin, but for the entirety of the crypto markets. Again, Render looking amazing right now. Riot, Mars, super exciting. So I'm excited to ride some waves with you again. Let me know in the comments down below what you think Bitcoin will be sitting at on Christmas Day of 2024, just for fun. And again, if you want to join the portfolio group, if you want the daily newsletters, if you want my daily coverage on these markets, that's the first link in the description. I appreciate you watching, and until next time, you guys, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace.